From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Yeah. Hold on. We them boys.
Wake up. What's up, everybody? Here we go. Time for Wake Up War Chant. I'm Aslan. Corey is with us on the road, heading westbound and up, because that's what he's always doing. Folks, don't forget, get involved in the show. We'll do another Renegade Express on Thursday and a phone call Friday. Give us your calls, 850-792-5730, 850-792-5730. Lots to talk about. Big game coming up. But first, Corey, how are you, friend?
I'm good, buddy, and I'd like to apologize to the listeners that I'm on the road, so I'm sure the audio isn't as great as you'd like. Heading to Biloxi, though, so I'm doing important stuff. I'm going to try to, contribute to that local economy, probably with a few hundred anyway. Maybe if things go poorly, we might get up to four figures. But either way, I'm going to have fun with my buddies. We planned a trip. Not to get too personal, but I had a buddy die in April, and this we always did together. The 5 or 6 of us would go to Biloxi, and so we're kind of trying to keep his memory alive by doing it. And we're taking people to kind of vie for his spot. It's almost like a reality show, like who's going to fill Carlos' spot. So there's 3 candidates that are on the trip with us right now. We'll see who wins.
Is Ira one of them?
No, Lord, no. I don't think Ira would like my friends too much. I think he could handle them in small doses, but I don't know that he'd like these particular set of friends.
Okay, I got you. It's all good, man. Dudes
you
being
would.
Dudes.
I think you'd fit in.
All right. What was that supposed to mean? I think Ira's cooler than both of us.
No, I know. It's a different. I'm not saying my friends are cool.
Okay.
That's just it.
All right. You know, the girlfriend called me the other day. She said that I'm a good guy, but I'm not nice. But does she like that?
Okay.
No thoughts on that?
I see what's going on there. Yeah, I think I could get on board with that.
I'm saying
like you're not nice for the sake of being nice.
Right.
You'll you'll call somebody out, or you'll have a really weird opinion, but it's your opinion. But that doesn't mean at your heart you're not a good person.
There we go. All right, let's talk about some of these opinions. 38-17 winners, Florida State over Wake Forest on Saturday. Win number 4, 2 more away from bowl eligibility. We saw flashes from some guys. I don't even want to call it flashes. That was sustained. I don't know if it's sustained, but yeah, sustained excellence out of Brian Burns. Good game out of Cam Akers. DeAndre Francois, very good, directing the offense. What did you walk away and walk out of Doak Campbell Stadium feeling and thinking after that victory, Corey?
Yeah, it was odd because it was kind of, it was a comfortable win in the third quarter, and those we just haven't had a lot of those around here lately. I think we were talking about it leaving the stadium that I know they beat Syracuse pretty badly in 16 when Dalvin broke the rushing record, and the week before they beat Boston College bad on a Friday night. That seems like about the only ACC games in recent memory where it was wrapped up by the third quarter. And now, again, if you're looking for positives, that's 2 straight games where Florida State's had a 20-point lead in the second half. Now, one of them they blew, so the positive and a negative. But again, I wrote about it after the Syracuse game, and I didn't think they would have a chance at a bowl game after watching that thing. And I still think it's going to be a tough road. But, that's 4 games in a row where I think they played their best game of the season. That's a good sign. You're certainly going to need to play your best game of the season this weekend to even have a remote chance. But 4 weeks in a row where you played your best game, and I thought that was their most complete game, and it helped, I think, that there was a bye in there, but it came after such a crushing loss for them to rally back after getting down by 10, which, again, the slow starts need to be figured out. But after getting down by 10, to rally back like that and win comfortably, again, maybe another positive step for this program and this coaching staff.
Yeah, how do you sort of reconcile the fact that, by the third quarter, this game was pretty much wrapped up. They had shown the ability to get some big plays out of the run game. The passing game seems to be working pretty well, at least vertically, and taking some deep shots. But it came off the heels of a bye week and then the defense not being able to get set. It was total Charles Kelly 2016 Louisville cluster all over again. And, I mean, quite frankly, those first two offensive drives, there's people in that press box that are smart guys that are saying, man, you know, if Francois doesn't get a touchdown this next drive here, like, do you go to the backup quarterback at this point? And now they effectively went down and had a great drive as soon as that happened. But, I mean, is that a better sign that this staff is able to figure things out on the fly and get things settled in and get the ship going? Or is it sort of in the back of your head, are you worrying the fact that they continue to find ways to shoot themselves in the foot early in games and then against this slate that's coming up, the NC States, the Clemsons, the Notre Dames, that's they're going to dig themselves in holes they won't be able to get out of?
Yeah, you know, there's two ways to look at it, especially on the defense. Like, it's mind-boggling what they were trying to do defensively. It makes zero sense. I mean, it wasn't just Charles Kelly's unit. He wasn't trying to rush a bunch of guys on and off the field. They were just staring at the sideline while the ball was snapped.
Right.
But they were trying to substitute mass substitutions when an offense is snapping the ball with 31 on the play clock. You just can't do it. So guys were running onto the field not knowing what they were supposed to be doing. They would look to the sideline as the ball was being snapped. Guys weren't set. There were two specific plays where they only had 10 dudes on the field, a third down and a fourth down that Wake converted and then ended up scoring their touchdown. So that's troubling to me because you had so much time to prepare for that, and Harlan Barnett went into the game thinking that was, and Willie Taggart went into the game thinking that was the right way to attack it. And I get that you're worried that they're going to run a ton of plays, so you want to keep your guys fresh. Well, then have them sit out a series. Don't rush back and forth the whole time. But to Willie Taggart's credit, he ended that real quick. And I'm sure in no uncertain terms did he tell Harlan Barnett to cut that blank out because he was tired of seeing it. And when I asked him about it in the post-game press conference, you could tell he was still frustrated by it. And he's like, yeah, we knew they were going to go that quick because it seemed like maybe they were surprised at how quick they were going. Otherwise, why are you running so many guys on the field? And he said, no, we knew they were going to go that quick. And I said, well, then, was it frustrating that you were – and he goes, yes, absolutely. It was really frustrating. So the good news is that Willie Taggart, he's an offensive coach, but it's his team, and he told the defensive coordinator in no uncertain terms, hey, man, stop doing that. And when he stopped doing that, Wake did diddly-poo. The bad news is that your defensive coordinator thought it would be a good idea to run those dudes on the field and off the field like that. And, I think Harlan Barnett's done a really good job. That was just an odd decision to start a game with.
Yeah, it was bizarre just because these are the things you kind of have inner monologue in a press box, and you're thinking to yourself, you're like, why are they subbing right now? This is not like a viable sort of attack right now if you're on defense. You can't keep bringing guys in and out and guys running in that can't even get their hand in the dirt and then are snapping the ball. And you're thinking to yourself, there's no way you could be doing this. But they keep doing it, and then the head coach is like, no, I saw it too. That wasn't a good idea, but we got it figured out. So, I mean, ultimately that was pretty encouraging. I think Dontavius Jackson told us what caught them off guard, and this is like universal, is the fact that even when they would throw incomplete on 2nd and 3, they would go fast. Like most teams, when they don't win a down, if they, especially if they don't win on 1st down, they'll take their time and figure out their next play. But Wake was just going. I mean, those first 2 drives was just absolute nonstop tempo, which I don't know, maybe ultimately would be kind of a good thing to season them up for Clemson. But I mean, they won 38-17 after those 2 drives. They locked it down. They created a turnover, which I think even Dave Clawson pointed out the fact that really shifted the momentum of the entire game, and there was no turning back. So. I mean, ultimately, I think the defense showed the fact that they're growing as well. But that was a bit of a bizarre way to start things off. I mean, offensively, I know. I guess Cam had the big game. You wrote the column on Cam, but I mean, I guess the real story to me is DeAndre Francois drops back 40 times, does not get sacked, completed 29 of those 40 passes, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no turnovers. Wake Forest, I mean, I don't really want to talk so much about how Wake Forest is in terms of their personnel. I think people are saying, I don't know if they were saying it on the telecast, that they had 3 walk-ons on their defense, maybe at certain points of the game on Saturday. But is that the way that they're going to have to try to win games? Or are they going to have to hope that Cam can build off Wake and they can get back to this identity that Willie wants to create? Or are they going to have to, I don't want to say throw to set up the run, but DeAndre is going to have to be the guy that's going to be the catalyst for them?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying all year, and it's true, really. I mean, I know we had the one cam run, but the only way this team moves the ball is through the air. That said, I understand the concern about dropping back 60 times with that offensive line. He won't be upright. Well, the good sign is he threw 40 times against a team that has given up 470 yards rushing. So still, they knew their only real shot to move the ball was through the air. And you're right. I think the biggest takeaway from that game, in my opinion, is that they dropped back 40 times and he didn't get sacked. And I don't think that's so much as the offensive line getting much better. I think the offensive line is what it is. Mm-hmm. It's that the quarterback made an adjustment. You know, he got out of the pocket a couple of times. He got rid of the ball quickly a lot. And I think that's it, man. That's what they have to do. You know, he got the best throw he made was the one to Terry that didn't count because of the all-time hold that Jawan Williams had. And if he doesn't make that hold, then Francois does get sacked. So, I mean, at least he did it to protect his quarterback, but holy moly, I can't – what the thought process is to grab a defensive lineman's jersey by the back. But anyway, you know, I thought Francois was good in the passing game, but I think he's been good in the passing game. That's not the concern. It's the concern what he's doing on the reads and when he pulls the ball. He still didn't pull the ball much, which, again, you know, it just is what it is. But he did get rid of the ball quicker. And he didn't allow himself to get pummeled. He did a couple of times. And I thought Willie was really interesting in the post-game press conference when he talked about how tough a kid DeAndre is. And he's like, I don't think I'd have been like that as a quarterback. I don't think I'd have been the guy that holds it as long as possible until I get hit, knowing I'm going to get hit. Well, DeAndre does that, sometimes obviously to his own peril. But he does do it, and he hits throws as he's getting hit. That's part of his deal, man. That's part of who DeAndre Francois is. The concern is what's coming. Not just Clemson, but Notre Dame has a great defense too, at least a great defensive front. That's coming. So this kid has to get rid of the ball quicker. You know how many times I don't know what the deal was with Clemson. I know they didn't score much. But do you know how many times Ryan Finley had been sacked this season at NC State heading into Saturday?
8, 9, I don't know.
Twice.
Okay.
2 times out of probably 250 pass attempts because he gets rid of the ball quickly. Yeah. They don't, you know, I know he's got a better line than Florida State does. Obviously, everybody does, at least pass blocking wise. But he gets rid of the ball quickly. So some of that is on the quarterback, man. And I think Willie's been kind of trying to tell everybody that for weeks now. That DeAndre's got to get better. It's not just on those tackles, man. That DeAndre's got to get better. And I thought Saturday was a step in that direction against a terrible defense, mind you. But I thought Saturday was a good step for him in realizing, man, you don't have to take so many shots. Get rid of the ball if you have to, man.
It's so weird to watch and then try to have to, like, analyze and weigh and then, like, make a judgment on, you know, Francois week to week because, I mean, you look at the stat line, again, 29 to 40, 353 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Wasn't much of a threat to run the ball. I think there was actually one where you even said in the press box, like, this would be actually a good time to do a quarterback draw. And sure enough, it was a quarterback draw, and nothing came out of it. He had the one throw to, like, I think it was to Trayshawn Harrison, and Trayshawn Harrison was totally, like, in block mode. There was one where he threw another screen, and I think Cam Akers almost seemed like he intercepted it from Wake Forest, if that makes any sense. I mean, this happens to every team. No team, and I'm not talking about Alabama, even, you know, I'm sure Clemson has, you know, every team has hiccups during drives. Like, no team is just going down the field and looking like, you know, whatever, 2000 L.A. Rams or St. Louis Rams and just lighting it up. But these things that continue to happen, and I know we're talking about their small growth everywhere, but there's, like, the problems that keep happening. Like, when are those going to go away? And, like, that's what concerns me most because I'm with you now. Like, I'm looking through the prism of not even so much this team getting better. And let me ask you that. Like, when you're looking at this team and you're talking about improvement and getting better, are you just talking about in terms of so that the staff shows that they're competent, so these players show that they pick up the system, or do you want to see improvement so that when they play their final game of the season, no matter where it is, that they look like a potential top 25 team or a decent team? Because for me, I'm not caring about what they're going to look like in November. For me, all this is like, these are like 1 week exams. like certain situations where I want to see can the defense call the right play? Can the offense call the right play? Can Francois make the right throw? Can Cam break off a good run? Like that's what I'm looking at, just like these sort of 1 week tests. And I'm still seeing like the things I don't want to see, but they're winning, so I guess I shouldn't complain.
Well, and they're winning by, like, this game they were up by 28 points. I mean, they covered. Hey, that's 2 weeks in a row they've covered, maybe 3 weeks in a row. But no, it's they're gonna be a lot of that. There's gonna be a lot of head shaking and hand wringing about this team and what it looks like. But I kind of already punted on them making a bowl after the Syracuse debacle. Now, that was probably a little premature for me to do that, but they were so bad in that game
that
I couldn't foresee a way where they would win 4 games. Well, they're already at 4 wins, and quite frankly, they should be at 5 wins. They blew a game that they should have won. So they're a lot better than I thought they were even going to be. So that to me is a good sign. Now, they got the tough stretch coming up, and there's a chance they go 0-5, which would be not great. But through these 4 weeks, I think it should give Florida State fans a little encouragement, including you, that, okay, it doesn't look anything like the team that lost to Syracuse. It looks like a completely different team. That's a good sign for the players and for the coaches. There's still a lot of stuff that makes you shake your head. Nothing is great on this football team. Nothing. But it's been pretty good now for 2 games in a row, and each game they've gotten better. I think that's a positive, man.
I'm not discounting the fact that they've gotten better. I don't know how much of it's like, the competition. Wake Forest obviously being a little bit weaker than Miami. I mean, my thing's, I don't think that they're building towards anything great in 18. So I'm not looking for like week-to-week growth, like better from week 8 to week 9. I'm just looking at every single week individually and just seeing how they play in certain situations. And, I mean, they did well. Was it a 4th down or was it a 3rd down where he hit Nooney wide open on that touchdown?
So, yeah, I wanted to bring that up. So that was a 4th down. And I think it was like a 4th down and, I don't know, 4 or 5. It wasn't a 4th and an inch.
Right.
And they were at the 39. And I don't know if the guy that's been here would have gone for that.
No.
History tells us he wouldn't have.
No.
So the fact that Willie went for it, I thought was a good sign. It's an odd thing, man. So remember the end of the first half when Willie was calling all those timeouts when they were on defense?
Yeah, like it was Madden or something. He's trying to get the ball back and get one.
Yeah, like I want to get the ball back. But it's like, the more I thought it was crazy. And I certainly thought it was crazy that they tried to throw the ball at their own 12. I mean, there were just little short passes. There was no reward for that. Like, they were going to bust an 80-yard play. The only thing that was in play was a turnover. But, man, I like the mindset. I just like the mindset. I like the mindset of being aggressive, believing in your defense that you're going to get the ball back, and then believing in your offense, hey, if we get the ball back with a minute left, we can go down and score. Was it the smartest thing to do? Probably not. But I think it says something to the players that he's trying to get the ball back, that he believes in them. And I think it says something in his mindset moving forward that he's going to be that kind of coach. That wasn't a gimme. When you have a lead, I think it was 14-10. They were right on the edge of field goal range. I just don't think Jimbo makes that call because then you risk giving the ball to Wake at the 40. But Willie did, man, and I applaud him for it. It was a great call. It was a good decision to go for it. It worked out. But he's shown that he's going to go for it on 4th downs. And again, I just think when we're looking to 2019, which is kind of what we're looking at, right? What's this team going to look like next year? We know what it is this year. The things that concern us going into next year will still be there no matter what happens the next 5 or 6 games. We're going to worry about the quarterback in the run game, and that's basically it. And what are these other defensive ends going to do when Burns leaves? Because they don't do. I mean, Kendo, I guess, had a couple sacks, so that was good to see. But overall, just the mood of the program, the way the team plays, I've just been encouraged. And I thought after the Syracuse game, I know we get more in X's and O's and we look micro and not macro, but just overall, the program, the state of the program, I feel better about it now, obviously, than I did a month ago. A lot better. I still don't feel great. How could you? But what is that, 4 wins out of 5? And it should be 4 wins in a row. And I keep saying that. Maybe it shouldn't be. Miami, it's not like Florida State dominated Miami, but they blew a 20-point lead and they had a bad call go against them. So if they win that game now, you're looking at 5-2. I mean, 4-3 isn't great. 5-2 isn't what Florida State fans want. but it's kind of what they should be. So that, I mean, again, I think that's a pretty good sign. But again, know everything. I know I'm rambling, but you know, it's a hard time processing my thoughts sometimes, Aslan. I just talk until maybe a point comes out. No. But just knowing what the next 5 weeks are going to be, I think I'm looking for positive signs to build on, because I don't know how many we're going to see the next 5 weeks. Even if they play well, I just don't expect them to score a lot of points and win many of these games.
Yeah, it's just difficult to – like, I just don't want to be the guy that's sitting here, like, looking for reasons to be optimistic. You know, like, I don't want to look for reasons to optimistic. I want to just see things. Like, I want to be shown stuff to be like, well, obviously, listen, it's going to be okay because this, that, and the other. Whereas I feel like we're still at a point where we're having to look and kind of – I don't want to, like, say pump sunshine, but we're having to kind of look at some things and maybe adjust it and refocus the optics to make it look a little bit better than it really is ultimately. I don't like the whole they should be 5-2 thing, because if you're going to talk about they should have beat Miami, well, they should have lost to Louisville. And Louisville's horrible.
Well, right, sure.
So,
sure.
like, I don't like to get that game.
I didn't mean they – I mean,
yeah.
They could be 5-2.
Right.
You know, they could be 5-2, and you wouldn't think that was a ridiculous, lucky record.
Yeah. But back to the sort of thing, I mean, again, these to me are like all 1 week tests. And – like, there's moments in this game where, you know, the first 2 drives are like, good grief, like, have we learned anything? But then when it felt like it was get busy living or get busy dying time, they quickly go down the field. I think the first touchdown drive, I mean, wasn't it all passing pretty much? I mean, just like they found a sort of rhythm.
Until the 2-yard run by Akers. Yeah, it was all passing. And that came on the heels of the Burns sack, which was, you know, that was one of the plays of the game. Obviously, because Wake was going for it on 4th and 8, which good for them, man. You're Wake Forest, and you know your defense isn't any good, so go for it. It just so happened that Burns sacked them. Good Florida State went right down the field to score. But you're looking, man. I thought the defense was really good for the most part after the first drives. They definitely got a break because George didn't play much, and that guy's awesome, and they didn't have to deal with him much. But overall, man, I thought they played well. They continue to do a pretty good job stopping the run. They don't have great linebackers, but they still do a pretty good job of stopping the run. And you know, you talk about Trayshawn Harrison. You know, obviously, I think that the play he had in the first half was his fault. You know, I think the way that DeAndre A.M. Taggart talked to him afterwards made it pretty evident it was his fault. But then you talk about a guy that comes back and makes that kind of play that he made in the second half. That's a good sign. That's another thing to maybe build on, man. That was a really, really well done play, an electric looking play, man. That guy's got something to him, and he has a chance to be really special. So again, I think if you take a step back, man, and again, you weren't here last year or even the year before, we don't get a lot of these games. We just haven't had them, no matter who the competition has been. Right. There haven't been games where Florida State's up by 28 points against an ACC bowl caliber type team. It just doesn't happen. So we're going to have plenty of stuff to nitpick about over the next 5 weeks, believe me. But in this game, I thought by and large it was a really big positive to win comfortably, to get backups in the game, and to be up by 28 points with whatever it was 10 minutes to go. That's, to me, another really good sign. It's the first time in a while, man, that they've played an ACC game where you're like, yep, this is a wrap. It's over. Certainly didn't happen at all last year. So, you know, it's good that Willie got his first blowout win. It was a comfortable win. Man, I don't know that we can just kind of dismiss those because they haven't been common around here in a long time.
1 year. I mean, it's been a long time. Is a weird.
No, 2006. I mean, they had the Syracuse and BC games, but other than that, they weren't blowing folks out, and they didn't do it in 15 either. Lord knows they didn't do it in 14.
Yeah, but they haven't blown any.
It's just not.
But they haven't blown anybody else out. This is a blowout against Wake Forest. I mean, I don't know. We're looking through a really weird time continuum here where we're talking about, like, this team has been horrible forever, and it's like they had a really terrible 2017 season. And I know 15 and 16, there was moments where you look back on, you're like, well, you know, the reason they won 10 games because the schedule wasn't that good or they could have easily lost that game. Like, I don't want to get involved in all that nonsense. I mean, and I'm not trying to diminish this, but it was a good win. Okay, like, it was a good, comfortable win, but Again, it's not like Florida State's been this. We're not on the lost decade. This isn't 2009. This isn't 2008. It's 2018.
It's a roster full of players that aren't used to beating teams badly. Like, I know with the fan base experience, it doesn't really matter much, man. This team isn't used to beating teams. These players aren't used to winning games comfortably. None of them. Literally, that's the third time in 4 years they've won an ACC game comfortably where it was over in the third quarter. It's not. I mean, again, when you talk about steps in a program, first you got to learn how to, you got to learn how to compete, but you got to learn to step on folks when you have a chance and finish them off. And I thought that Cam Akers run did that. Like, it was 21-10. It was still kind of a game, even though you scored 21 in a row and the Wake offense had really slowed down. But when he makes that play, you're like, all right, that's a wrap. The game's over. I'm just telling you, man, it's been few and far between, and I don't think that's something we can just say, well, it's a bad Wake Forest team. Man, they've played a bunch of bad teams in the last 4 years. They've had a hard time blowing any of them out. So I just don't know that we can completely dismiss it and say, it's Wake Forest. It's like, again, I think that should be celebrated because it just doesn't happen a lot. Now, it's not going to matter at all next week, but again, it's a nice sign that, these players did what they had to do to put a game away.
All right. Let's step aside, share some final thoughts on Wake Forest, maybe look ahead a little bit to Clemson. We'll do so right after this, right here on Wake Up War Chant.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.
Welcome back. All right, Corey, you're right. Take the good. Got to take the good with the bad, but there was a lot more good than bad in the previous game. This is the thing. Sometimes I wish I was just a fan still. Like, I didn't have to cover this team for a living. It's not a bad gig by any stretch, but it's like you win the game on Saturday, you're drinking some beers with your friends, you watch the game, and you're like, man, that looked kind of weird, but hey, we won. That's good on the Clemson. Then you're done with it. Then you go work, and then you're a family man or whatever else you want to do the remainder of your week. But we have to sit here, and I have to sit here and talk about every single thing every single day. So I can't just sit here and be like, yeah, it was a good win. And now what do we do? So, we have to sit here and figure things out and talk about big picture things. I mean, big picture, we keep talking about improvement, taking steps forward. Cam Akers' run game, I mean, does that fall in the same category in terms of improvement and seeing what you want to see and getting better week to week?
Yeah, hasn't he looked, and I know he had the big run, that skews thing, but hasn't he looked different from you the last 2 weeks, last two games? I just thought he looked more like the Cam Akers against Miami.
Yeah, running angry, hitting the hole for sure.
Yeah, man, and not being tackled so easily. And then, the touchdown run he had in the first half, I don't think that was a great read by the quarterback, but Akers still bullied in there. He picked up a first down on third short with just a hard run because there was no hole. And then there were some times, and granted, there were a couple of times in that game where I thought there was a big hole, and, man, he got tripped up way too easily.
Yeah.
He's too good a running back. He's too special a player to be brought down by the first guy. It just shouldn't happen. And that happened a couple of times in the first half, and I thought what was a really good sign was when we were talking to Brian Burns about him. Brian Burns said that Akers told him, man, they're not tripping me I'm not getting ankle tackled anymore. I'm taking it to the crib. And, boy, did he take it to the crib. He took it to the crib with a little rattle, had a little coochie-coo. Anyone? Does that work?
Yeah, always.
Okay, good. So, a little rattle, a little coochie-coo. But, yeah, man, it just the run before his big run, he looked more like the Cam Akers. He should be harder to tackle when it's just one-on-one. Now, I know when he's got three guys around him, man, what can you do? But when it's one-on-one, he was still getting, you can't coach up all the yards. He's got to make people miss. That's why he was such a big-time recruit because, you like the guys that can get yards on their own. He hadn't done a lot of that this year. And I know people, listen to me want to say, hey, Corey, you might have something to do with the offensive line, dummy. And I agree with you, but I'm not sure the head coach agrees with you. Because after the game, again, Willie doesn't really have a problem calling a player out when he doesn't think the player's performing. And it's also, I think what he's doing also is protecting the offensive line a little bit, because he does it with DeAndre, and he did it with Cam, because he said, the reason for Cam's struggles this year, it was partly on and partly on Cam, but then it's been mostly on Cam. Like, he blamed Akers, which I thought was interesting, but, just take a 6-yard run if it's there. But don't try to bust it wide to try to hit a 40-yarder when you can get a 9-yarder. Anyway, so I thought that was a really good sign, man. I know it's not a great defense. All of that is qualified. It was just one run. But he had 4 or 5 runs in that game, even though he only hit one huge one, where I thought he looked like the Cam of last year. And I thought he had 3 or 4 runs in the Miami game where I thought he looked like the Cam of last year. Now, he's not there yet, but at least he's showing glimpses, right? That's a positive.
For sure. I think with Cam, to me, it feels like it's so much more of a mental thing in terms of I think ball security is in the back of his mind, and I also think just the constant sort of pounding. I think that's why he is kind of going down so much easier to those ankle tackles, because there's not the confidence that he's going to get past the line of scrimmage, and then on the second level he's just going to have a one-on-one matchup and have to miss a guy. It's probably he'll make it past the line of scrimmage, so there's already going to be somebody hanging off of him, and then a linebacker's going to be closing in on him. So I don't want to say he's going down easy, but I think it's so much of a mental thing, and I think him telling Brian Burns that, listen, they're not going to get me down with an ankle tackle anymore. That's so much of a mental mindset where you're not going to worry about, I'm going to fumble the ball here, so if I get touched, I'm just going to kind of fall. I'm going to die easy. It's don't die easy. So I think the fact that he showed, the runs you just kind of mentioned there, whether it's the longer ones or the ones where he had to get tough yards, the fact that he was able to get that is encouraging. Because, again, the offensive line is what it is, but it's enough to put some drives together and get points on the board that you can win some games, which thankfully they've done here ever since the Syracuse debacle. I want to go back to Trayshawn Harrison real quick. And my whole thing about looking at things 1 week as opposed to accumulating this all up, and taking stock now versus what we felt 3 weeks ago. Trayshawn Harrison, like you said, is showing you the ability that he's going to probably be able to make some big plays for this team. I wasn't too wowed by his touchdown. It was nice. You were. Most everybody else was. So I'm in the minority on this. So I'll live with it. But to me, it's the little things again. It's seeing Willie coach in certain situations, and to me, a lot of things of why I did admire Jimbo Fisher and was not happy to see him leave was the fact that I thought, he dominated the rivals. He's shown the ability in a national championship game to call good plays and rally a team, and also just his judgment when it came to recruiting kids. To see how much stock they put in Trayshawn Harrison, how important he was to getting him on board. And to see the flashes that he's made, the Louisville game, he had that nice jet sweep. I think they're going to keep trying to incorporate him more and more into the offense. That to me is another highly encouraging thing. Not so much his play, but the fact that they were so high on him, and he seems to be living up to that. It gives me a good feeling about the staff and their ability to evaluate talent.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think a few of these freshmen have kind of stood out that way. I don't know if the Asante Samuel, I don't know that was Willie's doing, getting him to Florida State. But I thought he was the reason they got the interception. That was a great break on the ball on a third down play. A.J. Litton, I think, has shown signs that he can be a really good player. Isaiah Bolden certainly has the body type. Again, I think Jim Harbaugh said it. Jim Harbaugh said that Willie Taggart's the best recruiter he's ever been around. If you look at what he's done, where he's been, he's shown the ability to evaluate and recruit at a high level. Evaluate meaning in South Florida, obviously he doesn't get to pick the litter. In Western Kentucky, for certain he doesn't. But he obviously evaluated well enough to stock those rosters with better players than the other teams in the conference, or at least comparable players. And I just think that shows that he can evaluate talent too. We're going to have to see it play out here over the next couple of years. But yeah, man, I think the Trayshawn Harrison is a really good find all the way across the country. And not only to evaluate him and say, yeah, man, he can really play, but to get him to come all the way across the country to play at Florida State, a team that, is a good team, but had just gone or 7-6. I think that just shows you what kind of future this program might have if they can put some wins together. And by the way, I think Trayshawn's going to be really good. He's just got one. He's got a feel to him, man. He's just got he's electric with the ball in his hand.
Oh,
he's just going to get better.
I agree. I agree. I just wasn't like I wasn't like, oh, let's put SportsCenter top 10 on that Trayshawn Harrison play or anything like that. I think I do have.
You're a hater, but you're a hater,
I'm
right?
not
You're
a hater.
notorious hater.
Dude, did you see the way the Wake Forest guy? I mean, the Wake Forest guy like tried to push him out of bounds like it was his grandmother or something. Like, come on, man, play football, hit somebody. But no, I'm high on Trayshawn Harrison. I do feel good about him. I think we mentioned a few weeks ago after the Louisville game. I just feel like at some point in this season, like come November, when he's got more reps, live game reps, and they trust him more, I think we'll see him make potentially a game-changing play or two. So, and then obviously Jaden Woodby, that's another guy that that's a guy that Taggart went ahead and got, and he was a 5-star guy. And Trayshawn Harrison was ranked high too. But for them to place so much importance on those guys, go all in, and bring them thousands of miles away, just should give you a good feel for the whole. Be patient, give Willie time, let him get his guys into town, into Tallahassee crowd. Let's wrap things up here. I don't know if there's another thought or two I have in my head here, but Corey's driving down. I mean, Corey, do you want to tell people like what you're driving through right now? Because not only are you seeing things, but even like the infrastructure around you is making your calls not come in as clear as it was earlier in the show because you're moving further west.
Yeah, I'm kind of right. As we talk, I'm really kind of right in ground zero of where Michael must have come through because it looks, I mean, it's a disaster zone, man. I'm probably 45 minutes or an hour west of Tallahassee on I-10, and I'm literally right now driving by what was a forest where all the trees looks like they've just been cut in half. Like, it's crazy. It looks like, you know those scenes in those Vietnam movies where they blow up a forest? It's like that one of those happened. Like, there was a forest there, and then all the trees are gone, or snapped in half, and just you see limbs. I'm not limbs. You just see like all the branches are down, all of them. It's just crazy. It's really, really kind of tough to watch. It's tough to see, man, because obviously I'm on the highway, so there's no houses right here by me. But you know what happened to these trees happened to neighborhoods and homes, much like Generis Robinson's neighborhood, and it's man, what a tragedy. But I've never seen anything like this, man. I've never driven past stuff like this.
And it's speaking of Generis Robinson, I mean, I guess let's go on a high note here. I think these are all like career highs for him. He had 6 total tackles, 3 solo, and even had 1 for loss. And he had one of those valuable, the Corey Clark metric, the quarterback hurry. He had one of those as well too. So good on Generis, good on J-Rob.
And good on the obviously good on the Florida State fan base that's raised, I think at last check, close to $100,000 for his family.
Yeah,
which is just even that's above and beyond what he was even asking for. And if he'd have raised the goal, they would have kept pushing money in. But I don't know how much more he could have raised it. But you know, for them to the final goal that he had was $75,000, and then he's got $100,000. That just again, what a cool thing for the Florida State fan base to do for that young man and his family, because rebuilding is awful. It's not fun at all. And, you know, quite frankly, his family's lucky that he's part of a football team that has a fan base like this. Because now they can rebuild and hopefully build even better than where they were.
Well said, Corey. Put some money on 24 black for me, please. Like put a 5 spot. Go to a wheel.
All right. And also I'm going to be in the sports book, man. Do you want me to go ahead and put some money on the Clemson game?
I want $177 because 77 is my number. 177 on the money line in the Knowles.
No. Good, man. You just want to give Biloxi $177.
Come on, I'm good.
That's how it is.
I'm good for it, man. I'm good for it. And then I'll give 77% of my winnings to Generis Robinson.
Oh, there you go. That's nice. I'll let you do that. I don't know you can do that. I think that might be a violation. But I won't tell anyone.
Well, we'll launder it. I'll give it to somebody who can then give it to him. I've watched enough mob movies. I know how it works.
Oh, there you go. You know it is. Yeah. You know how it works. Good job, buddy.
All right, folks. Yeah, big game coming up this week, Clemson. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, throughout the week. We might even have the great Irish O'Fell join us, give us his insight. I'm sure we'll have Michael Langston talk about how big of a recruiting week it's going to be. We're back. It's football season. Time to be alive. Time to live. Corey, thanks for your time as always, my friend. We'll talk again tomorrow with everybody.
It's football season in Tallahassee, and the only place to go for FSU apparel and merchandise is Garnet and Gold. Locally owned and operated by Seminoles for Seminoles for nearly 40 years. Garnet and Gold has the best selection of FSU merchandise in town, but what we really sell is tradition and passion to serve you, the true Seminole fans, at all 3 of our locations, West Pensacola Street, Killarn, and our flagship store across from Regal Cinema. Online at garnetandgold.com. Shop local and go Noles.